Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV Edition. I'm Peter, that is Tim, and we, of course, are working our way through Tales from the Crypt. We're on Season 2. This is going to be episode 15 of Season 2. It's called Mute Witness to Murder. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. Last week, we were at odds. We disagreed. I didn't like the episode. You liked it a lot more than I did. Well, I mean, I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, but I really liked this one. This was maybe one of my favourites of the season so far.
I know. I'll certainly agree. I thought this one was great. And this was
Super
completely
fun.
new to me too. I'd never seen it before.
Oh really? No, this one's
Yeah.
super fun. This had a lot of just just really fun ideas.
Mhm.
Obviously, it was cheesy in places because Tales from the Crypt typically is,
Yeah.
but it also got darker than a lot of the episodes have recently. It felt the villain in this felt particularly villainous, which
Yeah.
maybe saying something.
And I think at the start it seems like kind of a very simple premise that I was kind of like, I'm not really sure how much they can do with this, but it actually, lends itself to a pretty intriguing story.
So the plot of this one is that uh, we have Patricia Clarkson, who's sort of the one notable actor in this, I think. And her and her husband are celebrating their anniversary. She's named Susie, he's Paul. And it's after the guests have left, and Paul goes to the bathroom. She's just sort of like, she's on the balcony of the house because they have sort of like a loft apartment, and they've got like a sort of roof area that she walks out on. And she's just sort of looking across, and we get like a sort of rear window-esque moment where she witnesses a neighbour across the street killing his wife, and it's a pretty brutal death as well. She's nagging at him constantly. She's like, just kind of like saying stuff to him like, "Oh, you're pathetic. You always do this, blah 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 blah." And obviously, given the title of the episode, I'm expecting a murder, so I'm like, yeah, he's going to kill
Yeah.
her. He's going to snap and kill her. But the first thing he does is he hits her in the face with a lamp, and it's really out of nowhere and violent. And I was like, oh crap! And it was like, I'm gonna edit this episode. That was really like stark violence, and
Yeah.
then she's still alive, and she's got like a bloody face, and I'm like, I wasn't expecting this to be this. I don't know, because Tales from the Crypt is typically a very, sure, it's horror-esque, but it's very cheery horror. It's very cheesy, and this was
Yeah.
a really hard-hitting opening scene. And then he grabs the cord from the curtains because instead of shutting the curtains or the blinds or whatever it is, which he probably should be doing, he uses it
Yeah.
to strangle her.
Strangler.
So
Just to make sure that there's absolutely no doubt in your mind that he definitely murdered her. I feel like sometimes these scenes, they might do stuff in like a certain way where it makes it a little ambiguous, or be like, oh, are they really seeing what they think they're seeing? But yeah, this is very in your face, and
no, beyond
yeah.
a shadow of a doubt, he has just killed his wife. So Susie's like standing there. Actually, I say standing there. When all the stuff goes down, she actually crouches down and she's sort of peering over the ledge of the roof
Yeah.
like this. She's just sort of like, right, I'm using my pop
Right.
shield. She's kind of like that, just sort of looking. And her husband comes back out. Paul comes back out, and she's just standing there, and she goes mute. Basically, she's in such shock, which by the way is a really bad time to go mute just after you've witnessed the
Oh
murder.
yeah.
But she goes in shock and she goes mute. Paul takes her back in, and he's like, oh, he's really worried, so he runs off to get a doctor. And he comes back, and he's like, oh, I got the doctor here, and it's the guy who just killed his wife. He's the doctor who lives across the street. And he looks really sleazy and sinister. His hair's all slicked back. He's got that proper, like, early 90s villain look to him. There's a lot of stuff in this that reminded me a lot of Phantasmagoria too. Mainly because of the mental ward stuff.
I never saw that.
Oh, it was a video game, it wasn't a movie.
Oh,
It was one
I
of
never
those.
played that.
It was an FMV movie, so it was all live action actors. Uh, I
Sounds
streamed it.
interesting.
I streamed it with some guy with Connor and Alex like 2 years ago. It was good fun,
Yeah.
but anyway, it had that 90s thing about it. It was this really sort of sleazy 90s villain, and she looks terrified, but she can't speak. And I'm like, oh man, this episode's a lot of fun. This right away. I was like, this is It's a really simple idea. Because
Yeah.
at first I was like, okay, I like her witnessing the murder, and I like her going mute, but I'm like, she can just write it down. And I'm
Yeah.
like, where are they going with this? But then they hit us with this twist that this is the doctor that he brings in, and it's him that's the killer. And the husband immediately explains where she was standing when she went into shock, and he pieces it together. In fact, it's a really cheesy, over the top reaction when he's like, Paul was like, she was standing right here. She was looking across the balcony, I think, and his head just goes. He just snaps. He just snaps his head and looks at her. He realizes why she's in shock, and he makes we're going to have to take her to the hospital, and she, to try and defend herself, picks up a golf club and goes to hit him, but hits Paul instead, which doesn't help her case. It makes her look even crazier. So we cut to her.
No, it actually gives them a reason to be like, oh yeah, she has to go to the hospital. She's violent. She's gonna lash out.
She's a danger to herself and others. And it pulls out a giant syringe. It's like, this is just a slight sedative. This big intimidating syringe.
That's one thing I never enjoy seeing in movies or TV shows is like needles going into people. And if you don't like that, this is not the episode for you, because there's plenty more coming up.
Oh, to be honest, it's only a couple of times. What was the episode of this? Was it not where there was like a giant POV? Oh no, it was something I watched with Connor. But there was like at one point it went kind of trippy, and it was like a POV shot, but the syringe they were pointing at the camera was like huge. It was intentionally really big to make it look creepy.
Grey's Anatomy, maybe?
Oh, we don't watch that.
I don't know.
Are you insane? So he takes her to this very 90s style sanatorium, and padded cell, she's in a straitjacket, which I thought was a bit of an escalation. Because he explains it to the husband as they're wheeling her along. Oh, she's a danger to herself. And I'm like, okay, she did hit her husband with a golf stick, but club, yeah,
golf stick.
Do you know what? I forgot the word, and I just went with stick because I couldn't remember the word club for some reason. And now I look a right fool because I said golf stick. It's fine. You'll top it in like a minute, Tim. I'm sure you'll top it. It's fine. But they put her in a padded cell, and by the way, first things first, this hospital, I think this was set in the near future or something, because the padded cell, the room, has this door that slides up the way. It's like an automatic door that goes. I'm almost convinced that they got a set from like a Star Trek or another sci-fi show, and they just redressed it, but the door went up the way, so they just kept it for whatever reason. Maybe.
It's weird because like technology wise it feels like the near future, but like socially wise it feels like the past, when you could just like throw a girl into an insane asylum for like no reason. Yeah,
for being mute. Because it actually goes to a scene with the husband and his sister, and the sister is like someone who works in like the medical field. You know, I can't remember the exact title she had, but she's
like research something,
medical research or something. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, you can't just do this. No one's ever went insane in like the span of 5 minutes. This is complete and utter nonsense. What's going on? Get a second opinion.
Yeah, if I had maybe like one complaint about the episode, like at first it might have been that the husband was a little too willing to just kind of go along with everything, but then he does kind of redeem himself pretty. Yeah,
he begins to question it, and he does eventually come in, and we see that also the other thing is that this guy is also the doctor's the head of this asylum. He's the director of it. And he's got cameras in all the cells, and which is, I'm sure, it's pretty normal to have cameras in these kind of cells for their own safety. But his monitors again have this cover that automatically goes up. It's like, and it reveals all the cameras. Yeah. Very, very futuristic for some reason. Nothing else in the movie is futuristic. It's just that in the door. Just these two specific things have this real kind of cheesy sci-fi feel to them. But so yeah, the husband eventually he comes back, and he comes back with flowers, and he thinks his wife's getting out, and obviously evil doctor's like, nah, she's too far gone, she's a danger to herself, we need to do a test. And he's just trying to cover his own tracks because she witnessed his murder. And eventually the husband like storms in, and he comes in and he's like, I want to see my wife. And he for some reason he only just now tries to like get her to nod or shake her head to things. Like they eventually start playing the charades, as the doctor puts it, and he puts it together, and he's starting to get what went on. He's like, oh, you're out on the balcony, you seen something. Oh, it was the doctor. And this is when the lights go out, and the doctor somehow Batman's into the room, despite the fact that this door is very loud. We've heard it go up and down. But he Batman's into the room in the darkness, and he syringes the husband, and then he crushes his neck with his foot.
Oh, yeah.
It's like really brutal. This is a proper good villain. I really like this guy. He was like a little bit cheesy, but in a really good way. He was really going for it. Like, he was not not shy about this role. He was enjoying it, and I enjoyed his performance. It was great.
Yeah.
Every line that came out of his mouth, the way he was killing people, the way he would talk down to them, just good stuff. Another thing about him as well, actually, there's a scene where one of the nurses... Actually, there's a scene, when they first put her in the place, she tries to run out of the room, and this nurse, like, runs up and just, like, picks her up and runs straight into the cell. It's like a football play. It was insane. But, yeah, the evil doctor likes to sit in his office in the dark, because the nurse leaves and turns the light off, and he's just sitting there in the dark.
It's strange.
For reasons. But no, so... It kills him, and then it's when she's upset about her husband dying that she kind of gets her voice back, and the doctor's threatening that he's going to take her and give her a lobotomy, and that's just going to be the end of her. So when he takes the straitjacket off when they're on their own, so he's going to take her for the... Why he's doing this on his own when no orderlies around to stop her from attacking him if she's supposed to be a danger, I do not know. But he takes the straitjacket off and she attacks him. And all throughout the episode, we've seen that he's got a heart condition, that he keeps having to take pills if things get too stressful, loud noises. Didn't seem to affect him when he was murdering his wife, but every other time we see him, he has to take these pills to calm his heart back down. But he doesn't have any pills left, and he's like, and there's like a communication, there's like a comms device in the wall in the cells where he can like press the button and say, "Nurses, come and get me," or "Nurses, do this," kind of thing. And he's like, "Tell them I need my pills, they're in my desk, tell them," and he's dying on the floor, and it's like, "Oh wait, you can't speak." He's like, "I can speak just fine." And it's like, there's a big moment where she finally reveals she can speak again. And of course she's not going to do it, because he does it. Not only did he kill his wife, he's also killed her husband in front of her. Crushed his throat. And he has the gall to say, "What, you're just going to stand there and watch me die? That makes you a murderer." It's like, and? You've killed 2 people, you dipshit. So he dies, and it ends with a really cool thing where she goes up to the video comms device and she like presses the button. And we've seen it a few times with him where it's just like this, blue shitty scan line video of her on the TV, and she's like, "This is patient whatever," and Dr. Trask has died. It just ends with her message before it goes back to the Crypt Keeper. I had a lot of fun with this episode. I thought the core premise, like someone witnessing a murder, was fun, and then she's mute and can't say anything. We had all the cheesy 90s asylum stuff. I thought the villain had some really brutal like death. Like his kills were really brutal. There were only 2 of them, but they were both really effective. They stuck out to me. He was chewing the scenery in a really fun way. I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit as well. He did feel very sinister, which was, pretty cool. I feel like a lot of times, sometimes like the cheesiness might take over a little bit, but he was just nice and on that line.
Yeah,
where
it
wasn't
the line.
too. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned him Batmaning in, because I kind of started to think like, oh yeah, this guy could possibly make like a good Dr. Arkham.
Hugo Strange, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, Hugo Strange too. Yeah, that'd be a good one. I feel like a little bad though, because at the end, do you think that this whole ordeal made her go insane?
For real?
When she's
Possibly.
like when she's on the comms, she like is laughing maniacally. I was like, oh, I don't know if it's
funny because I think by the end of the episode it justifies that she's went through enough shit. She's been held against her will in a straitjacket. She's witnessed her own husband being murdered. By the end of the episode, I can buy that she probably is affected by all this and has went a bit nuts.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tragedy. I will say this though: the villain's so good, and he is so, because obviously a lot of these episodes have the evil person gets their comeuppance. It's the sweet revenge at the end for the audience. This one is where I was like, yeah, he really deserves it, and I enjoyed watching him die, which works really well with the episode because she's enjoying watching him die, and you feel that you connect with her.
Yeah.
It's almost she almost represents the audience in a really cool way because we can't interact with them. We can't speak to them and say, "Hey, he's the killer, stop it." We might yell at the TV, but they don't hear us. And it's almost like her having being mute is the perfect representation of that. It's kind of cool.
We're all mute witnesses to murder in this episode.
Not me. I was like, holy shit, he just hit her in the face with a lamp. Because I was expecting him to come up and stab his wife, but it was the way he just grabbed the lamp, ripped off the shade, and hit her in the face with the bulb. It was just
it's
proper brutal.
Very brutal.
And I like that. I like when violence in like a movie or a TV show can be very sudden, like very just out of nowhere, and like, oh shit, that escalated quickly. That's how it should feel, because that's what Valiance feels.
Yeah, especially a lot of times I feel like it's, if there is something that's gonna be like that intense, they'll usually like cut away to something, where it's usually not right up in your face.
Because I feel like there's obviously I was expecting a typical death, obviously the strangling's kind of typical, but the first part of it wasn't. And instead of giving me the standard what we normally see, and because we normally see certain deaths, they feel very either cheesy or just tropey, kind of typical. Here it was like, no, here's a surprise. Here's something you don't normally see. And they did it twice. They did it again with because I don't think you usually see someone just crush someone's neck with their foot. That's pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
Can't think of anything else I've seen it. So, fair play. Good deaths, enjoyable episode, enjoyable villain, good solid fun premise. I have no complaints. I had fun.
And again, I'm kind of surprised that, I have a lot of friends that like the series a lot, and everyone has their favorite episodes that you kind of hear about over and over again. And I'm surprised that this wasn't one that like a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites so far.
Yeah,
definitely. I'd have to go back and think about. I'm sure when we finally finish this series, Tim, we can go back and do like a top 20 episodes video at the end and look through them. I think that'll be fun to do that.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
But certainly right now, this is definitely in my top like 5, say probably.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to say.
So there you go. That's Mute Witness to Murder. Episode 15 of season 2. We'll be back next week with episode 16. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. You can get me on Twitter at Wibble89. You can get Tim on Twitter at Tim Vergulish. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We will see you next time.